Okay, let's make another video talking about religious cults or multi-level marketing or any kind of pyramid type scam. Cult leaders have no off-ramp. Yeah, they have no off-ramp. And it might end, the leader dies either well or not well. Jonestown, Adolf Hitler. Where could Hitler go? If Hitler had not blown himself away, where would he go? Where would he go? Could he just retire to the tropics? I don't think so, somehow, having been a mass murderer. And this is one of the paradoxes that you see in cults or scams, and what happens to these people afterwards. Now, I got scammed by a Kip McKean cult. But there's other scams out there. I also got scammed by a Forex guru, and I got scammed by a multi-level marketing group. You would have thought I'd learned my lesson. Well, I have. That was years ago, and now I just expose these devils for what they are. And they are devils. And they have made themselves a trap that they can't walk away from, right? They can't just stop doing an honest day's work and retire and put their feet up, because they've never done an honest day's work. You know, these pyramid type structures are all about control. And in these pyramid type structures, there's abuse, there's lies, there's deception, there's tons of money, you know, and they literally have made themselves a golden cage, you know, kind of thing. And there's no off-ramp. There's no retirement, you know. Ex-members will hunt the leaders down, you know. And this also applies to the prosperity gospel scams. They can't retire. They can't quit. They were addicted to money and control and manipulation and deception. And where can they go? Either being idolised or seen as the guru will keep them trapped, or, you know, the lust for money and the lust for control will keep them trapped, or they can't leave the system because they've engineered the system to protect themselves against the enemies that they've created. You know, it's like if you have a cult, you have ex-members, right? The ex-members are just sitting waiting for the day where the cult leader steps off the high pedestal and becomes vulnerable, you know, and they can't, because they know they can't leave the cult or they'll be obliterated, you know, by so many enemies that they have made, who aren't the enemies, they're victims of evil cults. So this could apply to Jim Jones, Jonestown, Adolf Hitler, any of these cults where abuse happens, because people know who the abusers are, you know, whether it's physical abuse, financial abuse, emotional abuse, whatever it is, spiritual abuse. These abusers, they have made themselves a prison, and that prison is the cult, and they're trapped in the cult, right? And there's other people who want to be the leader. So the fact that they've told people to be like the leader, which is a narcissistic control freak that will do anything to gain power, means the next people are just as hungry to be the leader, so they have to become even more psychopathically savage. And it creates a strange psychosis of deception, and it's a brood of vipers. And it's the ultimate God complex, you know. So where do they go? They can't walk away from their gilded cage, you know. Do an honest day's work? They don't know. They don't know what an honest day's work is. All they know is manipulation. So I've put here, evil people don't get to retire. They have made too many enemies, you know. And having, whether it's security guards or whatever around them, costs money. You know, if a cult leader was to just walk along the street like David Miscavige or Kit McKean or whatever, and people knew who they were, or Adolf Hitler, or Donald Trump, or Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump can't walk the streets, like a normal person, because they'd be slain where they stood, wouldn't they? So they've, through gaining control through evil methods, brainwashing, thought reform, they have put themselves in a prison, and that's the price that is the ultimate price they pay. They can't walk the streets like a normal person, and of course, one of the things that snaps people out of cults is, I don't need you, you need me. The master is dependent on the slave kind of thing. And your God is imaginary and unproven. I wasted 20 years in a cult. I am lucky to be out. I didn't manage to recruit anybody. Thankfully. I wasn't charismatic, I wasn't persuasive. And it's kind of, the cult dynamics are just weird. It really is like jumping in a hole and trying to dig yourself out. So I think, ex-members need to talk about the cults. They need to talk about how they were brainwashed or indoctrinated. That's what I do. I've explained a couple of these Bible studies. They lure you in with seeking God. Oh, God's going to solve all your problems and answer all your prayers. But you have to do what he wants you to do. And they'll tell you what he wants you to do and nobody else will. So you get a trap. Cults are a trap. But they're not only a trap for the members, it's a trap for the leaders as well. Because if the leader's addicted to narcissistic feed or sociopathic, that's the perfect trap for them, a cult, and they can't walk away. They can't walk away from it. Interestingly enough, with Kit McKean, he got kicked out of his first cult, and what did he do? He just made another cult. He got kicked out of the second cult. What did he do? He made a third cult. It's all they know. It's all they know. All they know is how to build a mousetrap and jump into it themselves. It really is the snake that eats its own tail. Members think they're pleasing God, but they're the ones doing all the hard work. And when they realise it, it's like, hang on a minute, I'm doing all the hard work. God doesn't answer any prayers. I'm giving these people money. They should be giving me money. And a lot of people walk away. And the fact that a lot of people walk away and more people figure out the con of the cult, thanks to more ex-members speaking up kind of thing, is these cults, they do keep on fooling people who don't know that the cults are out there. I mean, one of the problems I had when I was growing up, there was no awareness of cults. Nobody warned me about cults or scammers or whatever. And you fall into the trap, But a lot of these traps are so sophisticated. It's like, don't believe anything a politician says is true. And that's the only way they get into power, is by being really good liars. Because they're all liars, aren't they? Show me a politician that's actually said they'll do something and they actually do it. They don't exist. It's the system is falling apart. Because so many of these scammers, no matter how good they are, people will see through their con, expose the con, and then they have to make an even worse con, kind of thing to survive. And there are limits on the ability to con people, So it is what it is, but cult leaders have no off-ramp. Hitler's off-ramp was blow his brains out. Jim Jones was 1,000 dead, drinking the Kool-Aid. It ends badly. Cults and religion is psychotic. As is politics, to be honest. They all want control, and they're all liars, and they're all deceivers. And it is what it is. The fact that they want to be in control means they have to be devious. They have to be devious. And then you expose their devious ways, and then, you destroy one pyramid with logic, then another pyramid comes along. It's like a computer game, like Space Invaders. You get rid of all the first rank, and then there's another lot that appear. Anyway, there you go. It is what it is. So this video is cult leaders have no off-ramp. They can't retire. They can't just walk away from it. And they can't interact with normal people if you know who they are. So they're always trying to hide who they are and what they did. I mean, in London ICOC, there were a lot of evangelists that sort of, got removed from power in the early 2000s. They're always hiding who they really were and what they really did. And that is their punishment for being a cult leader or an evangelist. They know what they were. They know what it was evil. Either that or they're delusional. But yeah, it's an evil trap, cults. But as well as being an evil trap for sincere people who believe in a God that they can't prove, it's also a trap for the leaders because they can't walk away. The power is like a drug. They're like cocaine addicts or drug addicts. They can't walk away from receiving tithes every week, and that turns them into the ultimate God complex, which makes them more believable as a god in some bizarre kind of way. But anyway, there you go. It is what it is.